Next up is the big one, the true beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025.
Well, hello there. Welcome to DCU Daily. And today I'm worried. I'm worried about Superman Legacy. Yeah. Well, and that's the subject matter, that's the topic of discussion today. So let me tell you why I'm worried about Superman Legacy. I'll give you 3 reasons. Reason number 1, the SAG-AFTRA and the WGA Joint-Strike. I'm worried that that joint strike is going to delay Superman Legacy, that we're not going to get it in 2025 when it's scheduled to come out. And the reason for that is we don't know how long this strike is going to go for. Even if it goes on for a couple of months or if it goes on for 6 months. The last actor strike went on for I think around 6 months in the 80s. The last joint strike in the 60s went on for roughly that long. That seems to be around how long most strikes go on for. The last actor strike, not the actor, sorry, the last writer strike, and I believe it was 07 or 08. That lasted roughly 6 months. So that's the kind of gap that we got during COVID. You know, that's the kind of gap that we got in the pandemic when productions were shut down. Nothing was going on. Nobody was filming anything. Nobody was all these people were out of work, which is truly sad because, you know, people are struggling to pay their bills. Even people who are part of like unions like Teamsters and IATSE who are not striking, but their productions are shut down because of the SAG-AFTRA strike and the WGA strike. And it hurts the bottom line of studios. It's going to hurt their ability to be able to make movies that we love. It's hurting the actors, it's hurting the writers, it's hurting everybody in Hollywood that works on these movies because they're not able to pay their bills. They're not able to generate the income that they depend on to put food on their table. And I think a lot of that will have a knock-on effect on Superman Legacy, and it will probably, if it changes the production schedule, if it changes when this movie is able to release, when it's going into post-production, when they go out and shoot it, when they can finish pre-production, even with the DGA deal in place and James Gunn's, you know, being a part of that, I still think there's a lot of things that this movie can't do. They can't do, you know, costume fittings with the actors. They can't do anything that requires the actors to be involved in anything. They can't do table reads. They can't do anything where the director is working with the actor. James Gunn can't bring in David Cornsweet or Rachel Brosnahan or Nathan Fillion or Eddie Gattegi or Isabel Marquette or Anthony Carrigan or anybody else in the cast and do any kind of, you know, rehearsals or like have questions and answers about who these characters are, how you're going to portray them. None of that stuff, a lot of that stuff that happens in pre-production can't happen until this joint strike ends. And that's going to have an effect. You know, we ended up with this big gap after the pandemic where we weren't getting new movies and stuff, where things were only just trickling out. And we weren't getting the normal flow of entertainment that we usually would get. So that's something that is going to affect Superman Legacy by either delaying its release or affecting it in some other way. Maybe some actor commitments can no longer happen, because if it does get delayed and now it's, you know, let's say David Cornsweet has other projects on his docket or Rachel Brosnahan has something else that comes up. I think they were clever in casting the actors that they did, because I don't believe any of those actors are part of any other big franchises or any other big commitments, like what we had with the Henry Cavill Superman and the mustache debacle in the 2017 theatrical version of Justice League, where he was actively filming Mission Impossible Fallout and Paramount was like, you can't shave that mustache. And so when he went back in for reshoots with the Justice League and Joss Whedon was like, hey man, what are we gonna do about this mustache? Or like, you know, like Warner Brothers maybe said that to him, and he was like, well, I can't do anything about it. I guess the CGI department is gonna have to do it, and Warner Brothers had to cut a lot of checks for that and for millions of dollars, and it still didn't work out. And we could, I'm not saying we're gonna see that debacle here. I don't think they're repeating that mistake ever again, but I certainly think those are the kind of problems that Superman Legacy will encounter because of the joint strike. And that's unfortunate, but, you know, it's not something that can be avoided. It's out of the control of a lot, you know, the people who are, certainly James Gunn, who's, you know, actively working to, you know, prepare and direct this film, but it's not out of the hand of the studios. You know, it's not out of the hands of them to go back to the table as part of the AMPTP and work with the actors and the writers to find a deal. But how long that takes to happen, how long does it take before both sides come back to the table, we don't know. And until they do come back to the table, I'm worried. that Superman Legacy is going to get delayed, and it's going to have a knock-on effect and have a snowball effect of other issues that will come up as a result of the delay. And then maybe the movie changes, maybe for the better, maybe for the worse, who knows. But certainly there's a lot of unknown, and unknowns are not always a good thing. So there's that. Now, reason number 2 why I'm really worried about Superman Legacy is that there's too much pressure on this one movie. On this one movie, we're relying on to kick off the new DCU. Now, I know we're gonna get probably was it Creature Commandos, the first animated show in the DCU, which is also gonna be the first new project in the DCU. I know that James Gunn keep saying that, oh yeah, Blue Beetle is the first character in the DCU, but we don't know if that movie, any of the events in that movie are going to be canon to the DCU, because James Gunn also said in the same conversation with Michael Rosenbaum on his podcast that Superman Legacy is the first movie in the DCU. And since Blue Beetle is a movie, and while Blue Beetle is the first character, if Superman Legacy is the first movie, then I get worried that hey, maybe none of the events from this Blue Beetle film will come across in the new DCU. And so the pressure ultimately falls on Superman Legacy to succeed. And I just don't know. I just don't know if it's going to be able to bear the weight of expectation that's going to be put on it. That's the kind of expectation Man of Steel had. And we all know how that turned out. I know some of that was fickle management, and certainly that was a big part of it. But if Man of Steel had done better, if it had been a greater, bigger, more universally loved movie, a bigger success than it was, then yeah, I think the DCU could have been still around and maybe thriving even. So yeah, I'm afraid that might happen again here. There's a lot of pressure on this one movie, and I know they've announced plans already for so much more than they did at the time Man of Steel was coming out. So it's certainly not an identical situation, but it does worry me that there's so much riding on this one film. You should always hedge your bets, and I certainly hope James Gunn and Peter Safran are doing that. I think they are, but there's still a lot of pressure on Superman Legacy to perform. And then reason number 3, will the DC fandom unite behind this movie? Will they unite? Will we truly see the fans of the Zack Snyder movies? Will we see the fans of the James Gunn movies? Will we see the average audiences? Will we see the fans come together and support Superman Legacy the way it deserves to be supported? I'm not saying you have to go in there and like it even if you don't enjoy it. If you don't like the movie, you don't like the movie. Movies are, subjective. Everybody likes certain movies. They don't like certain other movies. Movies hit us differently. It's an individual experience as for everybody. And art is relative. It affects people in different ways. And the same applies for Superman Legacy. But the point that I'm trying to make here is, will everybody give it a fair shot? Or will they just go in and try to bombard it with bad reviews on IMDb? Or will the Rotten Tomatoes score get bombarded because a lot of negative reviews are going to climb in, and people are going to start talking about other things that are not fair judgments to make on the movie? Will social media turn on it? Will we get these Twitter trending hashtags of "We want Man of Steel" and stuff? And look, some of that is going to happen. Let's just be honest. Some of that will happen. We don't really have a ton of control over that. People are going to do their thing, and I can't tell you not to do what you would like to do. All I can say is, hey, go and give this movie a shot. It needs to. It deserves it. It needs it. It deserves it. Every movie does. And so give this movie a fair assessment. Go in with an open mind, put your expectations behind you, leave them at the door, go in and try to enjoy this movie for what it is. And don't try to make it fit into some vision that you have for it before you've seen it. And really just engage with the movie earnestly, and then at the end of that experience, if you liked it, great. If you didn't, that's good too. Everybody will go in and have their own experience with the film. But if we can all unite behind it, if the DC fandom can unite behind Superman Legacy and really give it its best shot of success, like the Batman with Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz, we can see the start to something truly special. And look, if the movie's terrible, the movie's terrible. It is what it is. But I certainly hope that everybody will unite behind it. Will they? I don't know. Recent history probably speaks otherwise, but I have faith, and we got 2 years till this movie comes out at the very least, unless it gets delayed because of the strike. And we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to hearing more about this film, and I'm hoping that that it goes into production on schedule, on time, and we get to see it in theaters on time. I don't want to wait until 2026, 2027, 2028 for this movie. Batman vs. Superman got delayed for release. There's so many other movies that over the years, DC movies that have been delayed. The Flash came out like 8 years after it should have come out. So I really hope that doesn't happen not Man of Steel, with Superman Legacy. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you worried about Superman Legacy? Is this a movie that you guys think is going to struggle? Is it going to get delayed because of the joint strike going on in Hollywood today with the actors and writers striking? Is it a movie that the DC fans are going to unite behind? Is there too much pressure on this one movie to do well? Let me know what you think, and I'm back here every day, Monday to Friday, talking to you about all things DCU on DCU Daily. I'm Daniel, and I'll be back here again. We'll be talking about something else, something DC related. So if you're a fan of DC, come and have a conversation with me. Let's talk about all things DCU. And until the next one, keep looking up, and I'll talk to you next time.